Hey everybody, it's Keith here. I'm live in the lab. I'm live in the Business Athlete Performance Lab. Coming in on Monday, kicking off the week. Interesting guests here today. Talk about that in a few moments. You're going to want to stick around for this one. With our guest, Clifford Stephen, the founder of Booze Vacation. You're thinking Booze Vacation. Yeah, there's your hook. Booze, vacation. In my experience, when you put booze and vacation together, I don't know, it kind of seems to be the opposite, doesn't it? But I think today we're going to learn the opposite of that. Let's bring in Clifford Stephen, who is here to talk about Booze Vacation. Clifford, welcome to the lab. Welcome to the Business Athlete Performance Lab.
Hey, Keith, great to be here. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're the founder of Booze Vacation. Explain to the listeners what Booze Vacation is and how you arrived at creating Booze Vacation.
Yeah, Booze Vacation was kind of a COVID passion project that I got started on when the world shut down. It was really kind of scratching my own itch. I think I have a pretty standard social background. Started to drink in high school, went to college, you're drinking there, you're in corporate America, you're drinking there. And, with age and wear and tear, and as you get into your 30s and 40s, it doesn't work as well. And, I think a lot of my peers and I, there's a pretty strong association with alcohol and fun, friends, events, and a reward system. And so with that association, it could be kind of tricky to navigate when you find it everywhere. And it does start precipitating, kind of quality of life issues and health issues. So that, my background, I have a degree in nutritional science. I played water polo, soccer, tennis, real active kind of, with my diet and fitness, and always was pretty healthy and fit, but kind of in my 40s, that kind of started to go kind of south. And I kind of had to start I looked at everything, and kind of alcohol was kind of the last thing I looked at, because honestly, I didn't really think it made that big of a deal. But when I did finally go ahead and take a 1-year break, I just had such transformation and such massive gains, and it was such a gift, and it just made kind of everything easier and better. So it wasn't about sobriety or pointing fingers, but it was kind of just, it seemed like my peer groups needed somebody to kind of talk about, some of the challenges and realities behind alcohol that I think are pretty formulaic and pretty certain with age and wear and tear and tolerance. It's kind of just, you're kind of just bound to get less, which just less benefits. It's harder on your aging body. And I think my peers are pretty high performing. They've got good jobs and businesses and nice families. And, I think a lot of people on paper would think that they have it all, but like I said, since they're my peer group, I see them, and like me, we're kind of, there's some challenges there with just increased responsibility, maybe a little bit less me time, and trying to have fun and trying to navigate socially with alcohol could be kind of challenging. So I just really found a need in my peer groups, and I got such great benefits that I decided that I wanted to launch essentially kind of a men's health and wellness movement focused around taking an extended vacation from alcohol and then leveraging that time, money, and energy to really kind of clean up the diet, fitness, sleep, lifestyle stuff that goes sideways. It's pretty darn difficult to optimize when you're kind of regularly drinking and kind of lowering your hormones and decreasing your sleep quality and increasing inflammation and have less energy and less testosterone. So there's just a big ball of challenges that come with regular alcohol use. So I wanted to kind of introduce that to my peer groups as a way, because like I said, it's just not really discussed. It's not tried. There's not really examples. So I kind of wanted to start shining a light on that in a fun and an aspirational way. So, and you're kind of hitting on the title, Booze Vacation. It sounds a little bit of an oxymoron, but yeah, it's, I kind of coined that phrase when I was, explaining it to my buddies, and it, made them laugh, and it got me off the hook most of the time. So I thought it was kind of a fun way to just kind of make it, again, fun and aspirational, because at the end of the day, we're actually able to deliver on the beer commercials a lot better than the beer commercials are when it comes to just your results and your outcome and your look and feel and your relationships and all that. So I figured if they can do it, we can do it too.
It took courage as a human to swim upstream with your peer group and say, I'm going to take the proverbial bull by the horns and be the guy that's going to put his hands up and say, maybe there's a different option. Talk about your mindset as you went about coming out with that topic with everybody and say, no, I'm going to own this topic.
Yeah, and again, it's really going to depend on the individual and where they're at and what they're, if they're introverted or extroverted, if they how much shit they like to talk with their buddies, or if they just want to kind of just do it on their own. But yeah, I was extroverted. I love giving unsolicited advice to me and my buddies. It's just kind of how I was brought up, and I've worked on a lot of different things in my life, and so I've kind of saw what worked and what didn't, and like talking shit with my buddies, and so yeah, for me, it was a natural fit. For others, it's not. But again, that's why we kind of developed this kind of community that's kind of bigger than ourselves. So whether you're really into sharing your story or whether you just want to say, hey, just check out the website, you can kind of skin that cat in a bunch of different ways. But yeah, I'm super passionate about it. And, I kind of work through a lot of the, just through my own experiences and scratching my own itch, kind of figured out a lot, which has been interesting and fun to talk about. And guys are pretty interested in hearing about it just because, like I said, there's not too many guys that are doing it. And again, it's not like never drinking again or total sobriety because, I'm not targeting alcoholics. My peer groups probably aren't necessarily even looking for that, but it's more of a giving them an opportunity and a choice, because when you don't ever stop, you don't really get much of a say. You're kind of just stuck in these negative feedback loops. And so it's really about giving guys a choice by letting them see how they look and feel with an extended break and how they learn to have fun without it and they can still relax. And so ultimately it's a choose your own adventure, but giving them that choice, I think, is important.
I think it's a wonderful aspirational point of view to show somebody, well, here's an option for you to maybe consider. Like you're really just throwing out the option of maybe you might want to consider this, or here's what it would look like. Because I think when you present the information that way, Clifford, you're presenting it without judgment, right? You're not saying, oh, you don't drink, or why don't you drink, or I don't drink. And because I know in my experience when I offer up the fact that I haven't had a drop, and it's not because I didn't stop drinking because I had a problem with alcohol. That wasn't it. It was a conflict with my lifestyle. I'm like, well, it's really difficult for me to go climb a mountain or go on a long trek if I'm hungover, or if I want to train in the gym tomorrow morning, or if I want to go. And what I really love to do is spend 90 minutes or 120 minutes beating myself up in the gym. It wasn't feeling very good as I was aging through life, as alcohol was there. So I was like, you know what? I was feeling somewhat of a conflict. It's like, okay, I'm just going to put it away and done with it. But still people make judgments. Do you not agree with that? That it's like, you're either trying to push on that belief, or so it's delicate in how you communicate the message. Am I correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you look at our website, I think we've done a pretty nice job of kind of navigating it. Again, we're not pushing fingers. We're not, pointing fingers, or we're talking a little bit of shit. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like anybody would give their buddy crap if they have a crazy girlfriend or whatever it is, So it's just, kind of just trying to create a little bit of awareness and showing that there's another way. Because like I said, I think it's pretty easy to get caught in the system where it's the only way. Mm-hmm. And then, and as you hit on, and we're similar age, what works in your 20s and 30s doesn't necessarily work in your 40s and 50s, especially if you've reached some success and you're trying to be physically active and you're trying to eat well. And, with that, there's a lot of, you have stress management, you have to sleep well, you have to, kind of keep fit and not get injured. And so there's a lot of things that go with that. And that's just pretty damn difficult to pull off with regular alcohol use. So it's ultimately, it kind of boils down to more like what you want and how long you want to keep it. And so,
right.
I figured if you get it and if you got what you like keep it and enjoy it versus, kind of going the other route.
And probably somebody who, I believe you have a degree in nutritional science, right? So there's also perhaps maybe that mental hypocrisy going on in your brain, right? Which is, I know better. So at some point in my life, as I age and mature, I do know better because I was educated to know better. And what I do know better is that alcohol does not just help me perform on a regular basis. And it's, and again, it's not about putting it away forever. It's just making different choices throughout, the week.
Yeah, definitely. No, and like I said, I think a lot of guys, they go to the gym and they eat the kale salad and they
Yeah.
take some supplements and they're doing all this stuff, to look and feel good. And I think they kind of intuitively know that they're kind of kicking the shit out of themselves on the weekend, going a little big, and they feel it and they don't look the best, but they think that they're kind of able to kind of compensate for it.
Right.
And, ultimately, I kind of found that, again, especially as you age, it's pretty tricky to thread that needle. It's nearly impossible with your physiology. And so, yeah, so it's kind of it's just a way to mix it up and try different things and see what you like. And again, I think most of the guys that take a vacation, they'll still have drinks, here and there, but way less and for different reasons. And so it's not necessarily about sobriety. But then others, like, been on a vacation for, they never got off, they're 2 years in. So it's just really kind of just depends on the individual.
Being a business athlete to me is somebody who weaves in principles of business and athletics to weave a better lifestyle for themselves. I believe you are an avid surfer. You play tennis. What other things do you do to keep yourself active and moving forward? And how long have you been surfing? Forever?
Yeah, probably freshman year in high school. So yeah, it's 30 plus years. It was cool. Me and a buddy from high school went to Nicaragua and surfed like 6 to 10 foot waves for our 50th birthday. So that was pretty sweet.
Yes.
I could still get it going, but yeah, I keep active, walks and yoga and swim and lift weights and, not every, kind of a little bit every day, basically. Try to do, I follow Peter Attia. There's some phase 2 training on an aero bike and a little bit of high intensity interval training, but yeah, kind of try to keep well rounded and obviously strong and sort of limber, which is a little trickier as you get older. Yeah, that's what I work towards.
Isn't it though? You're a triathlon guy too. So not only a surfer or a tennis guy, but you do triathlons. Am I correct?
Yeah, I did about a dozen plus. There are half Ironmans. I went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo and I played water polo. So I was used to kind of sucking it up and enduring tremendous amounts of pain. So wasn't really like trying to get on the podium or anything, but it was always basically the first Saturday of May. So it kind of forced me to get in really good shape for summer. So me and some buddies would do it. And yeah, we had a great time. Swim 1.2 miles in a lake, 56 miles on a pretty hilly elevated climb in Central California. And then a 13-mile kind of run / walk, whatever you can do. So, but yeah, it was a really cool event. They had bands but all the college kids were from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo where I went. We were volunteering and just kind of some funny aid stations that, kids just kind of getting crazy. It was a good time and a positive vibe. So I wound up doing that quite a while. But yeah, I'm not busting those out too much anymore. But yeah, they were a lot of fun.
Is it because of it? Do we age and you start putting things away? Is that why? So do you focus on just surfing and tennis now, or?
Yeah, that's part of it. They kind of shut down during COVID.
Got it.
But yeah, and again, I wasn't like crazy into it, but I just wound up doing it kind of over and over again, even though it wasn't really my deal. But yeah, it was just a good way to kind of get in shape and kind of make sure you're ready to rock for summer. So, but yeah, it was a good time.
COVID changed your life differently, it seems to me, than many others. It changed it in a very positive way.
Yeah, we had a lot of extra time and energy that I wound up launching Booze Vacation, kind of this passion project that, yeah, it's been fun. And yeah, I really feel like I kind of found my passion and my gift and hoping to kind of share it. And yeah, it's a lot of fun and doing a lot of good. And yeah, addressing a pretty common need in my peer group that I just found a pretty big need for, that I struggled to find on my own. So kind of trying to make it a little bit easier for my peers best we can.
Clifford, what would you say to somebody who has a passion project on the shelf, or they're working on it every hour there, every hour here? What would you say to that person who's wanting to do it but is hesitant to do it or reluctant to do it? You're an entrepreneur. You went for it. What would you say to that person?
I think that's a good clarification there. I have been an entrepreneur, so I have my own consulting business, design, employee and executive pay plans. It's a facet of HR where we set up compensation plans, tell companies what to pay their employees. And I've had a bunch of different kind of, businesses. So I do think, trials and errors type of thing. And so
yes.
I think, that's pretty critical. I do empathize. I think it's difficult to kind of strike out and try it out. Obviously, you want to keep your day job and try to do it on the side for sure. But yeah, it's, some just like to take the risk and others don't. And it is extra work. It is a pain in the ass, but there's a lot of upsides to it as well. And I think, especially as you get older, I noticed my buddies that had the stable corporate jobs, that was probably easier in my 20s and 30s. I think they kind of start feeling like they kind of hit a wall there, and they don't have really any other, at that point you get in your 40s and 50s, maybe not as likely to have that entrepreneurial spirit. So no, I think it's great. It's definitely kind of the spiritual lesson. You just learn a lot. You learn a lot of what not to do, and you learn a lot about yourself, and you learn a lot about others. So yeah, I think it's really valuable and important for people to kind of go for it. But, obviously you just have to try to figure it out financially. But yeah, if you have a corporate job, I think there's definitely some opportunity there to kind of explore that and try to get something else, get another plate spinning if you can.
Let's go to TikTok. So you emerged as a TikTok star. You're not your typical TikTok probably demographic person or a creator. What happened and how did you go viral on TikTok?
As I had kind of set up Booze Vacation, I wanted to kind of get it out, and my marketing person was like, hey, this is kind of more of an open platform and stuff versus if you're posting on Facebook or Instagram or something. So I kind of monkeyed around with it for about a year, and yeah, we've had some pretty good success. I had one that had 2.5 million views and 6 million views and 600,000 views. So yeah, I think there's just, you can get some pretty viral moments when you're just kind of riffing on alcohol and talking shit and having fun with it and whatever. So yeah, it was kind of funny.
Did it pay off for you? Did you make any money from those moments?
So TikTok, it's kind of more just exposure. I am trying to get the vernacular out there of like, Booze Vacation and how it's a break. It's kind of an extended break from alcohol. So it's been nice because, these millions of views, I'm getting that vernacular out there and it's getting kind of hashtagged and stuff like that. So it's free. So, as you're kind of bootstrapping your business, it's been helpful there and kind of just getting the word out. And yeah, as far as conversions and going to my website and actually, taking a challenge or taking a vacation, it gets watered down pretty significantly. But yeah, like I said, it's a tool just like all the other social medias. They all have their strengths and weaknesses. But yeah, it's a pretty good one for just kind of some quick eyeballs.
What would you say to somebody who's hesitant about jumping into TikTok or doesn't know where to start with TikTok? What would be your first bit of advice?
Just monkey see, monkey do. You can kind of see what people are doing. You can copy what people have done. Everybody's kind of putting in their own slant to it and has their own background and their own music. And the way the algorithms work, like they're just kind of, it's a little bit of a slot machine type of thing. So just keep pulling. But I'm by no means an expert. But yeah, I just kind of, I've had some pretty good days on it. But again, I'm not hitting it as hard now. Just kind of trying to spin the plates. But no, I think there's definitely some value there. You can work with consultants if you want, but No, I think it's just really, like I said, I think just kind of seeing what works and what you're interested in, and just trying out different stuff. Just
It's
kind of like
clear that in
interesting.
today's world, when you're starting a business, you're really starting a media company, aren't you?
Yeah, that's seems like the way it's headed for sure. Yeah, that's what a lot of the big successful people say.
Do you consider yourself a creator of content to get your message out first? Where does that sit for you, Clifford, in terms of business and the priorities?
Yeah, no, that's kind of where it's shifting towards. We've had a pretty challenging marketing kind of code to crack, so to speak. How do you let guys know that there's a situation there that they want to address when
Mm-hmm.
they kind of are kind of la la la, don't want to hear it, or don't
Mm-hmm.
think that it's an issue. So we've kind of had to really hone in our offer and what we charge, which is nothing, and how we engage, and the different challenges and different, kind of really reduce the drag to kind of just get some early adoption and some wins and some awareness. So I think, yeah, it depends on where you're at. So now that's kind of been baked. We've honed our message. Yeah, now we're kind of back into kind of turning on the socials, and yeah, getting into the branding of getting the messages out there, and trying to hone in specific, content around that. So yeah, I've kind of just spun this one big one where we've completely just redid our website and the offers and got everything plugged in. And now I got to kind of hop over and start, yeah, and podcasts as well. But doing, yeah, kind of getting LinkedIn and TikTok and some other stuff going just to kind of get some awareness.
When I learned of you and I learned of Booze Vacation and not as much one compensation, what struck me about Booze Vacation, Clifford, was we are in a world now of long tail topics, hyper niche. Like pick a hyper niche topic and own it. And I commend you for picking a very specific topic, Booze Vacation for men. You've just put it right in the box. You've said, hey, men in this demographic, if you fall here, come listen and learn. That's the right approach as an entrepreneur. You're owning a narrative and you're going to brand yourself with that narrative. I would think that you've I guess you've spoken the fact that you've kind of spun the wheel and you found a few things, but you're on your right path now. Am I not correct?
I'd like to think so. And yeah, it's funny because I think you're right. I mean, I do think I've identified a niche, and I think it's funny because a lot of these niches are kind of small, but in this
Yes.
case, I think it's actually very large. It's just for a lot of reasons, people just haven't addressed it. Like I said, I think the big one is they see my peer group and they're like, "Hey, Bob's doing great. He's got his own attorney practice, or he's got his own business. He's got a nice house, a nice family." But they're not looking at his blood work. They're not looking at his energy level. They're not looking at his CPAP machine, and just all this other nonsense that's kind of, on the what's really going on. And so that I see with just, hanging out with my buddies. So and it's a tricky one to kind of attempt to broach. So yeah, I'm just kind of, for whatever reason, that's just kind of my makeup of, kind of seeing the negative effects it has on your health and quality of life, and then being able to kind of figure it out in my crazy head, and kind of how that could translate to a lot of other guys that are probably also a little bit crazy as well.
Mm-hmm. Who's the target demo? Is it 40
The
to
target
60,
demo
20 to
is, it's
40?
really, I'd say 30 to 50-year-old
Yeah.
males. It's kind of some of the millennials, I don't think, the millennials are drinking less. They don't drink as much. They have all kinds of different stuff. They have weed, they have dating apps, they have all this stuff that we didn't have back in the day. So that's changed their habits. And, it's kind of my peer group that, yeah, the guys that are doing pretty well, went to college, kind of get indoctrinated into drinking, through high school and college and corporate America. And, I think it's guys that want it more, and they want to enjoy it, and they want to look and feel good. And if you don't have that, then I think it's pretty tricky. Because like I said, we're attempting to kind of provide this equation of like, hey, do this one thing that's kind of doesn't sound that all appealing, and what you can get a lot in return when it comes to just how you look, feel, perform, and age. So yeah, you kind of need to have a little bit of skin in the game, and you have to kind of connect the dots a little bit. I think guys generally they like to play dumb with their alcohol use, and oh, it's not that much, and I don't drink that much. I don't drink as much as Bob, and this whole thing, all these games they play. But yeah, you have to, like you mentioned earlier, you kind of have to go against the grain a little bit, and you have to, kind of, sack up and give it a try and see what happens.
There's one thing then in your notes that really stood out for me, which is you mentioned that you're wanting to stay active and kick ass well into your 80s, right? And I love that mantra, because when I look at what being a business athlete is, it's like being my mom to me. My mom at 75 years old was cruising down the mountain with her grandchildren and myself, last winter, in Alberta on a toboggan, swirling around, falling into the toboggan, getting out of the toboggan like a 12-year-old schoolgirl. And I said to myself, that's what a business athlete is. She's taking care of herself to be able to do that, which very much like yourself, right? You're saying, I'm going to kick ass. It's not about having the six pack or not about having all these other things. It's about being able to do the things you want to do when you're 80. I think that's really what you're selling your audience, aren't you? Because when I hear what you're saying, I'm saying the same thing to my audience of business athletes. You're not going to achieve those goals you want to achieve in life, my friend, if you don't think about all these little pockets of your life that are being exposed right now. And that's what you're calling attention to, which I really have a lot of admiration for.
It's a little bit, hey, Peter Pan's got to grow up eventually, right? Like
yes.
I said, I think we kind of like to keep this same, I think me and a lot of my peers like to keep the same identity that we had in high school and kind of keep the same playbook. And it's like, hey, we're still that same fun guy. We're still that wild guy. And that's fine and good. But again, you need to update the playbook a little bit. And if you don't, not only is it going to cost you now, because like I said, I mean, when we're talking about how it affects you today, it's like low energy, low testosterone, but poor sleep, look and feel like crap, kind of discontent, low mood. All that stuff is very bad blood work. All that stuff is very real. But, yeah, absolutely. When it comes to your longevity and living a great life, and there's lifespan and there's health span, right? So you can you might live to 80, but the last 10 or 15 years might just be like hell. You feel like shit. You've had major health issues. You're not able to engage in life the way you wanted to. You're probably not able to work and make the same money. It's probably affected your relationships and your appeal from your partner. So it's just, it's just not really living. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like you want to, my dad has done pretty well. He's like 82. He's going like hunting in Wyoming. He's like pulling up deer up these ravines and hunting, fishing in Alaska and all this stuff. It's like, that's how you want to roll. You don't want to be like kind of moping around watching Matlock and stuff like that. And that's kind of the reality that I'm trying to kind of have those conversations because, like I said, I think everybody thinks they're going to live forever, but chronic disease starts coming down in your 40s and 50s, depending upon your diet and lifestyle and how much you're drinking. And so kind of telling my peers you're rolling the dice and, hey, maybe tap the brakes and restore your health while you still can. It's way easier to restore your health than it is to like kind of manage chronic disease, especially with our healthcare. It's kind of more around treating symptoms and not addressing the root cause. So it just winds up being a slog, a death march with your doctor and pharmacist and checkbook. And it's just not a lot of fun and not very effective.
Clifford, do you ever feel like the preacher?
Sorta. Yeah. Again, it's my own little crazy head and riffs, but that's
I respect that though about you. Sorry to interrupt you, but I have props for that because men, in my experience anyways, alcohol is the center of the conversation. So it brings us together, watching sports, hanging out with my buddies, doing that. And I think there's this fear of, well, if I'm not going to go for wings or drinks with my buddies, where's my buddies and where am I? And that's a hard thing for many men, in my experience anyways, to turn their back on. So to have you say, well, guys, there's another option. I think it's a brilliant podium to stand upon. I really do.
Yeah. And I think you hit some of the biggest fears right on the head there. And a lot of that stuff is it's just not true. It's kind of bullshit and it's excuses that you tell yourself. The reality is that, your buddies are your buddies. You can still drink beer. I drink great non-alcoholic beers all the time. It sounds goofy, but there's fantastic any beers. I have a very good palate. There's fantastic beers out there. So, and there's some muscle memory from drinking for decades, that you still get a little bit of a buzz. And again, it's not sobriety. Some of my buddies, I'm from California. Some people do weeds. There's nicotine. There's other, there's other fish to fry in that. So there's some flexibility there. But yeah, it's just kind of, exploring that. And, the reality is, booze vacation isn't about like not drinking and moping around and watching the clock. It's really about, again, taking that extra time, money, and energy to really start cleaning up your diet and lifestyle and really kind of just maximizing your performance and gains. And the more you stack up and the more wins you get, the more you're going to want to keep them. And the more, your life is going to change and it's going to get better. And sometimes some of your friends you find out are kind of more drinking buddies, and, and there's a little bit of a loss there, but, do you want, it's like, what do you want and what are you willing to pay for it, And so, and again, it's not like you're not, it's not like you're judging them or anything. If anything, you're being an example, and you might turn some buddies onto it too. So it's kind of part of being a good friend, because that's the other thing that frustrated me with my peer groups is I'd have buddies where it'd be like, whoa, Bob ain't doing so good there. He's on his second wife. He's got a couple DUIs. He's had some health problems. And I'm talking to my buddies and they're just like, yeah, Bob's a big boy. He can handle it. Well, I'm like, but he's not, and again, you can't really have that conversation very effectively with guys, generally speaking. So that's kind of, again, the brainchild of having this movement, having this kind of package where you can get some really good, clear awareness around some of the challenges and what to expect. And then really just kind of the playbook. Because at the end of the day, we're not alcoholics. Like, it's not that hard to navigate. It's more just in your head and kind of fear. But it's like, it's not that hard. You know what to say, you know what to drink. You figure it out. You stop. You're not the dependence wears off after a few weeks, and you just get after it and start stacking up wins and having a great time and getting some buddies to go. So it's really not as hard as we make it out in our head. It's just because no one's done it doesn't mean that it's like impossible or anything. But
well, then we have to ask ourselves the question too: what kind of friendship is it really a friendship if it's always while we are inebriated? And I'm not trying to be the friendship police here and be the fun police. That's not what I'm suggesting. But to your point, if you're deciding to make a decision in your life, which is a positive decision, and then you're trying to perhaps convey that influence or give some people some things to consider, it's unfortunate that one would judge you for that, because then I don't think you want that friend in your life. What you're also saying too.
Yeah, again, it's not even like, hey, look at me, I'm doing this. Yeah. It's kind of just like, hey, like I went to a bachelor party in May, and a lot of my buddies were drinking and whatever, and I was drinking NAs, and I wasn't like telling them what to do or judging them or anything, but it's just a guy like, oh, Cliff's there, he's having fun, he's doing the same shit we're doing, like, it's just kind of showing that there's another way, and I think that's the theme.
I mean, I like that. There is another way. What's unfortunate though, Cliff, is that the industry is moving to more and more alternative options than alcohol, but yet we're stuck with calling the term for drinks mocktail. And here's where I have a concern with that. In my experience with the human language, the word mock means what? Nothing positive.
Fake, yeah.
Like nothing positive. So could you imagine if I said, yeah, I'm mocking Cliff right now? Like, if you heard that I was mocking you, I'm not making you feel very good, am I?
Right. Yeah. No. And that reminds me of, I hear this term like sober curious and stuff like that. And it's like, maybe for girls, but like dudes don't use that type of moniker. And no dude is like sober curious. And, it sounds like we don't know like who we are, what we're, like we're questioning our identity, or it's some of this vernacular is pretty funny. But again, at the end of the day, it's easy to get kind of caught up in the vernacular of it all, but it's like you're drinking stuff that tastes good, and it's a cocktail that doesn't have alcohol. It's just, you're still drinking beer, and cocktails, they just don't have alcohol in it, is ultimately what it is. But, it's easy to get tripped up and, oh, it means this and that's not cool. And it's like, again, it's just all in your head.
Often movements need the right leader to make the movement happen. And I listen to you speak and I hear of your experiences, and it's clear to me that this movement has the right person. You're authentic. Speak about how authenticity has helped you in business and being an entrepreneur. Because, I hear you speak, the language you use, your audience knows you. You use it to your advantage, don't you, Clifford?
Obviously, I think it's super important to just build rapport and, connect. Honestly, in my consulting business, it's been great and it's a great business. I love it. But I wasn't as aligned with it just because, the passion wasn't there and it wasn't, I just didn't have the muscle memory that I have with drinking with my buddies and working on my health and wellness and stuff like that. So yeah, it's exciting to be able to kind of get it going and speak to it and start getting some of the testimonials that are coming in and some of the conversations that are coming in mean a lot. And yeah, again, it's like I said, I just feel like I found this like obvious secret that no one's talking about or trying. And then when other people do it, it's like the exact same soup. Like everybody gets like the same great results. And so, yeah, it's been fun. And yeah, I think, with anything where you're trying to encourage people to look at it a different way, you don't want to be like Mr. Know-it-all and stuff like that. And, the reality is that, I drank for 30 years and, I thought it was benefiting me and I thought everything was good. But, you look back at it and you're like, man, I slept like shit and I felt like crap. My didn't communicate as well. I didn't have as much energy. So it's easy to, hindsight, it's 2020, but no, I think it's important. And it's very real and personal topic. So I think it's important to just be honest about it. At the end of the day, there's pluses and minuses, right? Like you can go to the party until 4 a.m, or you can go till midnight. And if you go till 4 a.m, like you're not going to have much of a Saturday unless it's like sitting on the couch watching reruns. And so you can go home at midnight and go have some sex and get up early and go mountain bike and whatever and get after it. But, there's trade-offs and it's, you kind of have to eventually you have to start doing a little math. And, if you're 8-10 drinks in, it's like, you're not, the frontal lobe is shutting down anyway. So it's not like you're really there enjoying it per se. So it's just something you don't want to like get in the habit of doing because it's just going to really kind of screw up your week.
Clifford, I applaud your efforts. We're coming up on our hour and I'm very grateful for your time. Anything you want to finish off with on booze vacations or one compensation you want to plug before we wrap up? Anything that I may have missed asking you?
Yeah, totally appreciate the time. Yeah, check out Booze Vacation. You can get a you versus booze PhD in 20 minutes where we have like a quick trip self-assessment. We could look at kind of how alcohol might be affecting your health and quality of life, completely confidential. And then you can take a quick win challenge where you can kind of do a challenge each week, like try to find a non-alcoholic beer or listen to Andrew Huberman's podcast on alcohol. It's a couple hours. It's pretty impactful, but just kind of some quick things you can do to get smarter with your drinking today. And then we offer free booze vacations when you're ready. And again, it's going to typically takes a little bit of education and awareness to get there first, but that's all found on our website and testimonials and stuff. So yeah, check it out. And yeah, really appreciate the time today to speak with you.
Awesome. I appreciate you coming in here. All right. So wrapping up today's chat with Clifford here live in the lab. Tomorrow on the show, we have Eric DeGotti joining us live in the lab, noon Central Time, Monday to Friday on the YouTube live stream. Dad's a YouTuber. My kids remind me, hit subscribe. I do a bad job of that. So I'm getting better at it. That's my goal this week. Keith Billis live in the lab, live in the Business Athlete Performance Lab. And hey, Transformation 24. Check us out on the website, bappel.ai.